All right, well, we are so excited to be joined by our next guest. We've got Presiding Justice Kitchens here with us. Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. So happy you're here. And I understand you're going to be speaking a little bit later today here at the fair.
At 10:20.
At 10:20.
Yeah.
All right, so for the folks who want to catch that, make your way over to Founders Square, which is where we're located right now, right off of it. Now, have you been staying here out at the fair all week or visiting any of the other days?
No, we spent the night here last night in a hotel, but we just got to the fair this morning.
Yeah, and what do you think about it walking in this morning? It's not too hot.
No, it feels good out here. There's a nice breeze, and we're delighted to be here, Mary and I.
Oh, well, good. Well, good. Well, give us a little bit of a preview of what you plan to be speaking on. You're the Presiding Justice, District 1, Place 3 for the Mississippi Supreme Court. We know there's a little bit of a race going on this year. That hasn't necessarily been the case in the past. So give us just a preview of some of the things you want to focus on.
Well, this is my third time to run for the Supreme Court. First time was in 2008, then 16, and now. First time there were 3 of us in the race. Second time 2. This time 5.
Well, there you go. You get to you get varied numbers of challengers every year.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about what you plan on focusing on your speech later today.
Well. Nobody has said that Jim Kitchens isn't doing a good job on the Supreme Court. I know that I am. I show up for work. I do my work in a workmanlike manner. I'm fair. I'm honest. I'm dependable. And I know that I am doing the work that should be done in a good way. I'm proud of my record on the Supreme Court. I'm proud of my record as an attorney and as a prosecutor. I was an elected district attorney down in my area. I live in Copiah County.
Okay.
Excuse me. And I had 4 counties in my DA district, Copiah, Lincoln, Pike, and Walthall. And I served in that position for a long time, and I did good work, and nobody ever said I wasn't doing a good job there. Then I left the DA's office and went back into private practice. And one of our children was sick. I had very substantial medical bills I couldn't pay on the DA salary. So I went back into private practice for that reason. Otherwise, I might still be DA down there because I really love that work. But I practiced law for almost 30 years privately. I represented Mississippi families with all kinds of problems they had. I wasn't a corporate lawyer. I didn't represent big companies. Occasionally I would have a client like that, but it was rare. So I helped Mississippi families with their legal problems. Sometimes they could pay me, sometimes they couldn't. But I helped them with everything that Mississippians have to confront in the legal realm. And then one day, a bunch of lawyers came to me all up in about 2007 and implored me to run for the Supreme Court. I had never thought I would run for anything else. I was happy as I could be.
Yeah.
We have 3 boys and 2 girls, and the 3 boys are all lawyers. So it was a dream come true. I was practicing law with my boys.
Oh, yeah.
Having a great time and doing well at it. But I got persuaded to run for the Supreme Court, and I did, and I was successful in that race. I've been on the court now almost 2 terms. My second term will end in December, at the end of December this year. And I feel good.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing a good job. I know what I'm doing. I've got more experience in the legal realm than anybody in the race, and there's some good folks in the race with me. I'm not knocking them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what I know about myself. My experience is invaluable. I'm the only one that has ever prosecuted anybody. I'm the only one that's ever defended anybody in a jury trial that I know of. I'm the only one that's ever actually handled appeals to the Mississippi Supreme Court. As far as I know, I can't find any appeals that any of my opponents have handled in the Supreme Court. So I've got a vast array of relevant experience.
Yeah.
And experience matters where I work. I'm sure it does where you work and where everybody works, but I have a vast experience that I think is good and is beneficial to the people of Mississippi.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hard work, showing up, and experience does matter. You know, also having a background on the prosecution side, there's been interesting national conversations about this trend of prosecutors going light, which has manifested itself in less safe communities. You know, that's the dangerous trend. One, fortunately, we haven't really seen in Mississippi, but I do think having that purview and that experience from that side is important as you're going into various cases. Now, this your last tenure here at the Mississippi Supreme Court, are there any cases that you'd like to highlight you think were really important, either from your engagement particularly or with regard to outlooks for Mississippi in general?
Well, you know, we can't talk much about our work at the court. We're prohibited from saying what we would do in the future.
Oh, yeah.
And if I talk very much about the past, I might easily lapse into that. But I will tell you that every case we have is important. And my view is, it doesn't matter whether it seems to be a big case or a little case. It's important to somebody. Furthermore, every case we have is important to the whole state, because what we decide creates precedent. You're an attorney, you know that.
Yeah.
And so what we decide is binding on the trial courts, and it affects the people of the state when they don't know they're being affected. But everything we do is important to everybody in the state. That's why I take this job so very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely, and it certainly shows. Now, I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to, at the national level, there's been some suggestions from our current leadership, from Team Biden, to restructure the Supreme Court and to establish a tenureship and to add more justices along those lines. Have you had a chance to think about that, and one, what it would do from a procedural perspective, but also how that could impact the way that the jurisprudence of Mississippi and states all across this country?
Well, whatever the U.S. Supreme Court does, and however it is configured, and however it is governed by any rules, which is not the case now, not many things apply in the way of disciplinary rules. Nothing does, actually. So that affects the whole country. It affects our court. In a manner of speaking, the Supreme Courts of every state are modeled after the U.S. Supreme Court. We choose justices in different ways across the country. Some are elected, as ours are. Some are appointed by a governor or somebody else. And various systems exist across the country. But the U.S. Supreme Court is the ultimate law of the land. They establish the law of the land. Justice Scalia visited our court a few years before he died. He was here for the dedication of our courthouse that we're in Jackson. We've been using it for years, but they were still working on it. So Justice Scalia was kind enough to come down to a ceremony that we had. And he told the people that day in that ceremony that the decisions of the Mississippi Supreme Court were far more important to the people of Mississippi than the decisions he made on the U.S. Supreme Court. And that was a very gracious recognition on his part. He was not known for being modest.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
That was very telling coming from him. So I have been focused on the Mississippi Supreme Court. Honestly, I've not paid a lot of attention to what is being done, what the president's proposing for the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I really don't think it would accomplish anything to add members to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's just my top-of-the-head opinion on it.
Yeah, well, I'd agree with you there. Well, Justice Kitchens, thank you so much for coming on, speaking with us today. We'll be looking out for your speech a little bit later today, and good luck with everything in the near future. For our listeners, we've got to take a quick break here live from the Neshoba County Fair on SuperTalk.